week's edition of Tell It Like It Is with Carl Jackson. A couple of things that I'd like to talk to you about. First off, sitting in studio with Jay Doggy Dog and Tony Maestro. And Casper is somewhere around. Casper is my dog. Sometimes he's laying right in the middle of the set. Sometimes you guys hear him breaking in like an illegal alien coming across the border during this show. But today he was already relaxed and chilling. Speaking of illegal aliens, we do want to talk about both HR 1 and the crisis that is on the border. And there is a crisis on the border that the Biden administration wants to lie about. Can we be real? Biden isn't there. Matter of fact, I think Republicans need to start demanding that he comes out and speak about the crisis on the border. No more of his surrogates, no more of Jen Psaki lying, no more of the Department of Human Health and Services or whomever else is going to lie about the crisis on the border, because it is indeed a crisis. We're going to get into the numbers right now, as a matter of fact. It also explains why the left really wants to pass HR 1. HR 1, as you know, would totally destroy our election system process. And every state would look like Fulton County, Georgia. It would look like Stacey Abrams was the head secretary of state or governor of every state. We don't want that. We would lose our individualism. We would be forced. America wouldn't look like America. It doesn't look like America now in some aspects, and the left wants to impose their will on the rest of us. They don't want a free country anymore. They want a bunch of robots. That's what the Democrat Party is robots. But let's get into this illegal immigration, because illegal immigration is the new slave trade. I think that's the theme of the show. Illegal immigration is the new slave trade. So let's just get into this here. According to the Daily Signal, the Department of Health and Human Services show that the number of illegal immigrant children crossing America's border is now exceeding our capacity to hold them. So I'm going to stop using the term or the word children. There are obviously some and perhaps plenty of cases where children are illegally crossing the border. They try to use terms like unaccompanied minors and stuff like that. But all of that is a word game. We have to understand the left constantly moves their agenda forward. They can do so legally now, or legislatively, I should say. But even when they're not legislatively, I have to give the left this type of credit. What they do is oftentimes, what they'll do is oftentimes use language, if you will, to continue to advance their agenda. So that's exactly what they do. When they say unaccompanied minors, unaccompanied children, even when they're not in office, like they were doing in 2019, they were already introducing HR 1. So when they do that type of stuff, it's always to advance their agenda. Republicans don't do this. It is a big mistake. So we have to start putting learning, even when our legislators don't do it. And we have a few good ones up there, but we only have a few. We probably have a handful in the Senate. We have a handful in the House that I'm sure each of us can name that really advance a new narrative, a new agenda, and fight hard in Washington, D.C. Others just are there to take the vote. Some people are there to get paid and all this kind of stuff, and we get that. But the left does a good job of controlling and advancing a narrative even when they're not in office. Unfortunately, this time they are. But let's poke a hole in this unaccompanied minors or unaccompanied children narrative. First off, what the left isn't telling you, and sadly, what much of the mainstream media, national mainstream media, anyway, isn't telling you, is a lot of these unaccompanied minors are grown behind men or teenage men that might be slightly younger, might be teenage to young adult male. And we have no idea how old they actually are. They can come across the border, completely lie, because we have no documentation whatsoever. And this is what happens oftentimes on the border. So don't fall for this narrative that it's a bunch of unaccompanied minor and children. Okay, if there is, then we want to see pictures. Jen Psaki, we want to see pictures. What's this guy in the, I forget the guy at the Department of, Alejandro Mayorkas? We want to see pictures. If indeed the case at the border, the crisis on the border that you guys continue to lie about is a bunch of young little children, show us the pictures. Show us the pictures. I bet you won't. Matter of fact, a picture was leaked this week. I think it was Fox News that got a hold of it, of a bunch of the unaccompanied minors that look like grown behind men to me, that were sitting inside of these like transparent, translucent type cages, if you will, sitting right next to each other, no masks. Well, I know masks don't work, but the media has been lying to you about it. So sitting right next to each other, housed together, so on, etc. And we don't, I don't see a bunch of children. I mean, there's no doubt they're there, but I don't see a bunch of children. And I would just say, you know what, Biden administration, whoever is the acting president right now, show us the pictures, show us the proof. All right, because right now, our ability to house these illegal aliens, we're at a point where we're exceeding our capacity. In the last week of February, the Border Patrol referred an average of 321 children per day. Okay, there's your children. So 321 children per day. This doesn't include the adults. This doesn't include the young adults lying about their age. So 321 children per day. Those are the quote unquote unaccompanied minors. Okay, that number is pretty freaking enormous. And again, this isn't the number of the people that are lying, claiming to be children, or the smugglers, human smugglers, traffickers, drug traffickers, sex traffickers, or just people that want to get into the United States of America. But we at least know 321 per day on average. Now, consider that number. Now, this is just the children. So imagine how many adults. In late January, that number was 203. So over 100 people less per day on average in late January, just 2 weeks into the Biden administration. That number was 203 per day. What was it in the last week of Trump's administration? 47 per day. So the numbers have jumped literally, I don't know, 6-7 times since the Biden administration has come into office, and they continue to grow. Our shelter system is now 94% full on the border, 94% full. And we're not even 2 months in to this administration. This is why there is a crisis on the border. This is why we can't listen to the big bad Jen Psaki. They always called Donald Trump the big bad orange man or whatever. Jen Psaki is now becoming the big bad orange girl, except she's prettier than Trump. But she's just straight up lying. They are lying, and they don't necessarily care that they're lying. Well, they do. That doesn't make sense. But I'll explain what I mean in just a second, because they're using another word. The left is good at using words, and it's incumbent upon us as conservatives, as people that are constitutionalists, to learn how to reframe, because our politicians are crappy at doing it. So in your everyday conversations with people, it's something that we're going to have to learn to do. So the shelters, again, are at 94% capacity. Can you say children in cages? Because children are in cages. And let me say this. All right. Let me just be straight with you guys. If you're breaking our laws and we don't have the capacity to hold you, and they have to hold you in temporary translucent cages or fencing because we don't have the capacity, I feel like we have to do what we have to do. That's on the illegal aliens. That's their fault. That's their fault. However, what makes this different is that we know the Biden administration, whoever is acting, whomever the acting president is, because of the policies that person is forcing Joe Biden, because I don't believe Joe Biden is there. I can't play this game anymore. I hate sounding like a conspiracy theorist, but we're not. We all know the guy is mentally incapacitated. We all know that he cannot count to 10 without a cue card. So we can stop playing the game. We need to stop playing the game. Where's Joe Biden? I mean, were those comic books? Where is Waldo? What were those on? Do you remember those? Was that a comic book or was that?
No, it was a book. It was a picture book.
Picture book, yeah, right? And you would flip through it and try to find Waldo. I feel like, okay, so this is my idea. So if anyone takes it, please pay me. I think we need a Where's Biden book. And I don't understand. I really don't understand. And trust me, I'm not trying to
be a little bit different, because like Waldo would be in like a crowd,
Yeah.
scene and stuff like that. You'll have to find Biden in a scene, where all his handlers are around and they're, propping him up, and then, and I'm sure they have they have to have a Biden, probably look-alike now that they take out in public and stuff, because all they have to do is put a mask on them. So they probably have,
that's what we need. Oh my
that's
God.
why they want these masks.
Publishers, get a hold of me. Email me. I will help with the ideas and the pictures. Where's Biden magazine or coloring book or whatever? Forget where's Waldo. We need to make Where's Biden popular. So Biden and his administration, whomever is running it, whether it's Kamala Harris, whether it's Nancy Pelosi. And did you guys see the video this week of Biden talking about he was going to take questions, and then all of a sudden the feed just goes down?
Oh yeah.
And he was like, Nancy, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And then they're like, the feed just goes down.
Did you hear Pelosi, what she said? How
I didn't hear.
It's no that how basically Biden will do whatever they want, whatever they say. She compared it to how Simon Says or Open Sesame. We just say Open Biden.
This is
Open Biden. Do it, Biden.
Not only are we witnessing elderly abuse at the highest level, but this is criminal activity. These people weren't elected. Biden cannot. I mean, this guy, as long as he can continue signing his signature, I guess he's useful to the left. So I guess I need to start praying that he can, for some reason, can't remember how to spell his name or something, because that's all he's good for. They're using this guy to advance this agenda. They're using these illegal aliens to advance their agenda. This is nothing. They don't care about people. The left doesn't care about people. The left is about power. This is nothing more than a new slave trade. That's why. And the media is complicit. Forget the fake news. It is such fake news. That's why you got to support people like James O'Keefe, people that are doing real investigative journalism. Some of these independent journalists on YouTube, the Tim Pools and so on, et cetera, are doing. Elijah Schaefer, they're doing such a a much better job even than the mainstream media. It's getting to a point where it's absolutely ridiculous. But you have these kids. If the kids are an issue, if the kids being locked in cages are an issue, then why is Biden holding them longer than legally is allowed? So they're allowed to hold the kids in these cages that Jen Psaki is refusing to call cages, but they are cages. So they're refusing to they're holding the kids in the cages for up to 77 hours. Now, according to the law, you're only legally allowed to hold those kids for 72 hours. Where's the mainstream media yelling about this? Now, this problem on the border is a Biden problem. This is a Biden issue. I have no problem, quite frankly, with kids being housed and adults and young adults being housed. If they are overwhelming our system, if we don't have the resource to house these illegal aliens as they're coming across our border, and we have to figure out all the legalities and all that kind of stuff and sending them back, then listen, we can only handle what we can handle. They're the ones that are coming across the border illegally. But the Biden administration is doing something different. They're inviting these people. I'll get into some of the quotes of this guy, Alejandro Mayorkas, because I guarantee you everyone that the Biden administration, and again, it's not Biden, I will not call him President Biden, but everyone that the Biden administration, whomever is doing the work for Biden behind the scenes, is appointing. I believe these people are the ones setting the agenda in their departments. I believe these people are being picked because the Biden administration, whomever is acting behind the scenes, is saying, we need this person. This person specializes in this. And so we want this person to basically just handle that department with no oversight. He or she just tells us what they think we need to do. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna get Biden on board. We're gonna get Jill Biden, wherever the heck she is, on board. I suspect Jill Biden and Hunter Biden are just collecting paychecks and collecting money somehow on the side, dirty money. These people should be in jail as far as I'm concerned. But the Biden administration is holding kids 77 hours. Now, Here's the thing. Here's part of the reason. Let me explain. Here's part of the reason why they're hypocrites, but why this should have never been an issue. The only reason that kids are separated from parents or adults for 72 hours is because a lot of these kids are being used. They may be being sexually trafficked. It may be drug trafficked where they're being used as mules, but it may just be that a stranger got a hold of a kid, kidnapped a kid, is not related to that kid whatsoever. But because our border policies are so lax, these young adults or adults know that they can use a kid to get into America more easily. And that's what's happening. So they have to separate the so-called or the alleged parents from the children on the border until they can figure out if these people are actually related. Once they figure that out, then I guess, I don't know, it's as good as being American citizens at this point, because the Biden administration isn't going to do anything about it. And this is what makes bills like H.R. 1 extremely dangerous, which I'll get into shortly here. You've heard everyone talking about it. It's passed in the House, and it would totally transform our election systems where Democrats can cheat and win forever. Republicans wouldn't stand a chance. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Breitbart has an article where there's 37 points that you need to know about the bill. Obviously, we won't go over 37, but we'll go over a couple just so you get a gist of what H.R. 1 is and how dangerous it is. And again, 2 years ago, it was like, yeah, right, this is a pipe dream. Now it's passed the House. Will it pass the Senate? No, they need 60 votes. So most likely not. But this is also indicative of why you can't have weak Republicans in office. You can't have Republicans like the Mitt Romneys of the world, the Liz Cheneys of the world. And I used to really like Liz Cheney. But you can't have people like this that will capitulate to the left, because we're no longer dealing with Democrats. We're dealing with people that want to destroy America. We're dealing with people that want to fundamentally change America. And there is no negotiation with people like that on the right or the left, as far as I'm concerned. We are too far down the socialist road at this point to play around with people like that. So here's what the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said after he lied and claimed there was no crisis on the border just this Tuesday. Just a flat out lie. I just gave you the numbers. We're at 94% capacity within a few weeks of this Biden administration being in office. So it's just a straight up lie. So here's what Alejandro Mayorkas says. We are not saying, this is what he's saying to, I forget who he was questioned from. I believe CNN actually offered him a decent question. And he was like, hey, we are not saying don't come. So this is what he's saying to illegal. If you hear this as an illegal, as an illegal alien that wants to get into the United States, as an illegal alien that wants to get into this systemically racist country, and obviously I'm being facetious, right? We still have people willing to risk their lives for this country that the left claims is systemically racist, but I guess they figure, hey, we'll transform it so it won't be that way. I don't know. But Alejandro Mayorkas says this: we are not saying don't come. Okay, that's pretty clear. We are saying don't come now, because we will be able to deliver a safe and orderly process to them as quickly as possible. So when you have the department, and honestly, I don't know why somebody in the Department of Health and Human Services has anything to say about our border situation. Who the heck elected them? Who elected him? No one elected him. So they shouldn't even have a say in the matter. But if you're an illegal alien, and I'm asking you guys this, J-Dog, Mr. Maestro, if the Homeland Security Secretary says we are not saying don't come, so this is what he's saying to illegal aliens: hey, we're not saying don't come. Okay, we're coming. We're saying don't come now.
We're getting the Hilton ready for you.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta make sure there's some.
We're getting
nice
the Hyatt ready
for
you, just like with CPAC. Yeah,
we're building a resort. We decided to funnel the money from the wall to a resort at the border.
It's pretty amazing. This is pretty weak stuff. So these people, there's no definitive answers from them, except everyone knows they're weak. And so these illegal aliens are going to continue to pour in. And it's up to us. It's incumbent upon us to call our senators, to call our congressmen or women and tell them, hey, this thing needs to stop. It's time to put the pressure on because they intentionally are trying to destroy America. It's simple. I mean, this is bad messaging, and they know it's bad messaging because it's intentional. They want these people to continue to flood across our borders. What they don't want is the media to call them out and say this is a crisis. But the situation on the border is getting so bad. Again, we're just not even 2 months into this Biden administration, and our facilities are at 94% capacity. And this was nearly at the beginning of this week. So it's even worse now, you can imagine. So it's pretty crazy. So they're saying, come now. What else can we interpret from a weak Homeland Security Secretary like this, when you get weak messaging like this? They're not asking for assimilation. Right? You don't see, this is what people, this is why I say conservatism is more compassionate. Now, no assimilation. So these people are leaving a type of environment, a type of country, third world country, where the rule of law isn't a priority. Now they're escaping those countries or fleeing those countries to come to a better life. If we're going to tell illegal aliens or immigrants to come here, they're coming here for the rule of law. They're coming here for freedom. Not if they're coming, but they don't have to do that anymore. Because now you have the left saying, hey, you're entitled to everything. This country is systemically racist. So this makes this a lot more dangerous, right? Because now you have illegal aliens coming to this country that don't care about our laws, but they think they can get a bunch of free stuff and live in a type of quasi-free society. This isn't going to work. This is going to be disastrous for all of us. I mean, when you undermine the rule of law, it is just not a good thing. And the people in charge are constantly undermining the rule of law. And then think about this COVID crisis. Are we in a crisis or not? Are we in a pandemic or not? It seems to me that if you were really concerned, you Democrats, about this COVID crisis as you claim you were, then you would be outraged about illegal aliens flooding our borders and being allowed to come into the country. Because from what I understand, the percentage of illegal aliens that are coming into the country right now under this Biden administration free for all is a really good portion of them, a significant percentage of them are more than likely COVID positive or are COVID positive. And they're not doing tests on everyone. We don't have the capacity. We don't have the resources. We don't have the manpower to be able to handle that. We don't to be able to handle this influx. There's sheriffs like in Arizona. I was reading one sheriff who mentioned, I forget where I saw this, but who mentioned basically, he appeared on Fox News earlier this week. But he said, listen, this is a Biden problem. This wasn't happening under Trump. I mean, they had some numbers under Trump that were pretty big when the left was still trying to invite people to come into the country illegally. Trump squashed it. The border fence started being built, and he was like, it hasn't been a problem. The numbers decreased rapidly. So he said, everything we're seeing happen on the border now, the crisis on the border now, according to this Arizona sheriff, is a result of the Biden administration's policy, because a lot of the people in law enforcement, border patrol agents, ICE, they can't even enforce their own laws, their own federal laws and policies anymore. So it's absolutely disastrous. More sheriffs need to step up, get in front of a camera. They need to take pictures. Now, the Biden administration is refusing to allow cameras on scene. You know what? This is when it's time for civil disobedience. These people are going to destroy our lives. And I'm talking about the people in the Biden administration. And I'm talking about the illegal aliens, too. They're going to stagnate wages. They're going to help Democrats cheat in elections to bring us a more socialist country. And they don't even understand. They're useful idiots at this point, because if they're fleeing their countries for a better life, yet they start voting for these people that want to give us the same type of country they fled, where it's a society in have or have nots, then what good is America anymore? According to Daily Signal, the border arrests hit the highest level in a decade earlier this year, with 75,000. See, remember the number of children. All right, let's go back to that. All right, so in the last week of February, the Border Patrol referred an average of 321 children per day. So what would that be? 321 children per day, 2,100. So maybe 8,000 or so children. Rough. I'm not that great with math, but let's say 10,000 children. Okay. A month. All right. So look at these numbers. The border arrests hit their highest level in a decade earlier this year with 75,000 apprehensions in January alone. So if I'm going based upon these numbers, then I would guess that approximately 10% of the people crossing the border illegally are actually children. So the vast majority of people crossing are adults, teenagers, young adults, something of that nature. So this is, make no mistake about it, what the left is doing is they are importing Democrats. That's their goal. They want to import new Democrats. They want to make these. They don't have compassion for these people. They don't care if these people achieve the American dream. In their minds, it's like, let's develop, let's create a new voting base for ourselves that'll keep us in power and keep our foots on the necks of Americans. Just think about all these border states. I mean, whether it's Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, you can see, I'm sure, more illegal immigration flooding into places like Colorado once they get past the border states, so on, et cetera. These states will be blue forever. I mean, as long and then, I mean, just consider how close, whether you think the elections were, whatever you think of the election results, consider how close the elections were numbers wise. I mean, this is enough to flip an election. A lot of these numbers are enough to flip elections in perpetuity, where Republicans would absolutely have no chance, or any conservative, constitution, free thinking, freedom loving political party or person would never have an opportunity again to be able to express their opinions and to in the public domain, because these people would absolutely take over. And what do? People vote their self-interest. So what do you think these illegal aliens are going to do if they get in here? They're going to vote Democrat, because Democrats are like, hey, we're not going to arrest you. And so instead of achieving the American dream, they can stay in the shadows. They can make a little bit of money, but they can't make lots. But they won't have to worry about the popo knocking on their door. And that just, to me, that's pretty racist. It's pretty despicable, because the Democrats are really trying to create an underclass, a perpetual underclass. And that's exactly what they're doing with this illegal immigration, which is, in my opinion, the new slave trade. Hey, let's bring in the cheap labor. Let's keep ourselves in power. We don't need a whip or chain anymore. We can use college campuses and professors that are morons. And we can use illegal immigration and keep these people as poor as possible, so that they're always dependent upon the government. Something else that Alejandro Mayorkas said, he's, again, the Homeland Security Secretary, and he says that the administration has had a stressful challenge on hand. And here's what he says: not only in addressing the urgency of this challenge, I thought there was no crisis, but also in building the capacity to manage it and to meet our, this is the word game. This is the word game. To meet our humanitarian aspirations and execution of the president's vision, right? So the president's vision, again, I just told you, is, well, the Biden administration's vision, because I don't think Biden can spell the word vision anymore. But the Biden administration's vision is to bring in a bunch of new Democrat voters, import Democrat voters.
Carl, can I interrupt you just for a second? Where they're saying their humanitarian vision
exactly
on this, but where's the humanity in encouraging these people to make this dangerous journey? One, where's the humanitarian or the humanity in so many of these children that are being brought here not for freedom but for slavery, as in the sex trafficking and all that? Why aren't we talking about that? Why don't we have celebrities that are out there talking about this? Is it because it's so prevalent in in the wealthier societies that they have these slaves in a sense? I mean, is it something that, or it's like what they say, you put lipstick on a pig.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're making it sound like we're, this huge loving country and that they're the, they're these virtuous people that just want to come and, bring them in here and care for them. But that's not what's happening.
You know what? That's a great point. And you know what I think it is? This is where hate comes into play. What do I mean by that? So Democrats constantly talk about Republicans and conservatives of people that are haters, they hate blacks, they hate Latinos, they hate gays, they hate transgenders and this and that. So the Democrat Party has invested heavily over the decades now of just putting us all in a box and keeping people mad, keeping people angry. So if the left or people in Hollywood believe that conservatives are hateful people, racist people, bigoted people, they're not going to listen to anything we say. So they can use words like humanitarian, and it absolutely means, the people in Hollywood elites, they don't think. The Alyssa Milano's, Miley Cyrus's, they stop thinking. They're just brainwashed in their industries to hate. And so are Democrats. Democrats are, we've seen mass brainwashing of the American citizenry through our media. The Democrat Party and their cohorts in the media have literally managed to brainwash at least half of our American voters that are on the Democrat side. There are no free thinkers on the Democrat side. So they're so angry at us, they can't think straight. And so they think humanitarian, let's let these people in, right? Republicans are so racist. They're so mean. These people need a home. They wanted to come to America to have a better place, as the left tries to destroy them. But they look at the post journey. This is what the left is so good at. They look at the post journey. So once these people arrive, it's a humanitarian issue, right? The left will say, well, what about the humanitarian issue before they arrive? Just like Tony was saying, what about the sex trafficking? What about the little girl that's getting raped? What about her mother that's getting raped? What about the father that's perhaps losing his wife or child as they trek on the journey, or vice versa, the father that's leaving his family behind as he treks on the journey? What about all the dead bodies in the desert that we never see, that we never hear of?
The 13 that died, was it last week?
Oh yeah, that's right. In the car crash, being smuggled across the border. Right away when I heard that story, I knew it was about illegal immigration. But even beyond that, Sarah Carter reported, I think she's a Fox News analyst anyway, but she has her own website and podcast too. But she reported that she went down to the border. She was talking to some of the illegal immigrants that were coming across, and even some of the younger ones and children, and they were admitting to her that there were some little kids that were trying to get on trains to come across to, south of the southern border to try to get to the United States with parents. And they admitted that they saw people die. They admitted that some kids didn't make it. These are little kids. So we don't get to see the story post our border. So what about that humanitarian crisis? Unfortunately, our people, Americans on the left particularly, can't think critically anymore. So if
President Trump was guilty of inciting violence on Inauguration Day, are the Democrats, or is Biden, is his administration not guilty of these deaths? Are these deaths not on their hands for encouraging them to come here, for saying, hey, we're not going to turn you away?
They absolutely are.
And
I just wish more Republicans would say, see, we're not used to this. Here's what Democrats understand. They understand politics, the game of politics, and they understand political theater. Even some Republican politicians, candidates, they don't get this. You don't have to be fake to understand that you have to play the game of politics. It's the way it is. So it's not just about facts. it's being able to present those facts in a way in which that are compelling, that make people think emotionally, that make people think outside of the box. Republicans simply aren't good at it because we go in with facts and stats and we're like, hey, here are the numbers. You should be with us. But we don't necessarily have that emotional connection. And quite frankly, society has been brainwashed by our media, by television, big tech. So by the time we even make the argument, the left has been making it for years and decades, not unconsciously. What's the word that I'm looking for? Anyway, they've been making it via all of these other avenues, and we're just kind of late to the party. This says here, last thing, in just 1 week in February, the Border Patrol stopped over 2,000 illegal migrant. I'm not calling them children because we don't know how many are children, but I'm guessing it's probably 10%, but we don't know. But 2,000 illegal migrant children crossing the southern border. So that's just 1 week in February. So I was about right, probably about 8,000 or so kids per month when you have 75,000 apprehensions. So probably just around 10% are children. But this is what we're dealing with. And now on top of this, the left is flooding all of their new Democrats across the border. And so now let me bring a few of these. This is what makes HR 1 House Resolution number 1. And it's called House Resolution number 1 because that's their number 1 priority. So the Democrats' number 1 priority. So it passed in the House. Most likely it won't pass in the Senate. But I just want you to hear a few of these and remember the border. All of this stuff is tied together. They want registration for minors, voter registration for minors under the age of 18. They say states must register citizens to vote voluntarily or automatically as long as they are 16. Even if they can't vote, even if they're illegal aliens.
Well, we sort of do that now. When my son was 17 when I think he was 17 when he got his driver's license. So he registered to vote then, and
oh really?
So he got to register to vote.
I didn't know that.
Then and he received his voter's card once he turned 18. So
wow.
You can register, you just can't vote until you're 18. So I don't necessarily,
I don't.
But
like
I think they're
trying to make it law. They're trying to make it
to where they can vote, though.
Yeah, where they can actually vote at 16. So the federal government.
Hey, if they can choose to change their gender at 4 and 5, why not let them vote now too?
They want same day voter registration. So if Democrats are losing, like they were in November, they want to be able to go the day of the election and just go recruit people to vote. They want to protect illegal aliens who are registered to vote. I mean, this is pretty crazy. They want to prevent states from purging ineligible voters. These fools are trying to turn the United States upside down. They want automatic and online voter registration. I mean, yeah, it is a total takeover, says the voice from my right. It is a total takeover. And that's why we have to fight. We can't just fight legislatively. We don't have time for that. You better talk to your neighbor. You better show your neighbor pictures, talk to your friends, or more importantly, some of us are just scared to speak up. Screw them. I was concerned about being canceled. I'm a peon. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? We're going to lose the country, for God's sake. Who cares? Just stand up and fight. Stand your ground. Don't let people call you racist. Say, no, you don't get to judge my heart. Only God can judge my heart. As a matter of fact, you're the racist because you're the only one that sees race. Don't let them tell you that a man can be a woman and a woman. No, I'm not. If you believe that, you're the science denier. Anybody that's born, you can pull down their pants and you can see exactly what they are. There isn't 50 something options. It's uno or dos. That's all there is. So anything beyond that is, it's just crazy. A man dressed as a woman running against a woman in track and field. It's still a man dressed as a woman. Maybe the man isn't Hercules, But if the man is still, I don't know, he shouldn't be allowed to run against girls. It's just absolutely crazy. And we just can't let the left do this. It's Democrats. We need to even stand up to protect Democrats, because there's a lot of Democrats that just don't get it. But if you love America, it's just time to stand up and say something. Don't be silent. If nothing else, if you're not going to be an activist, that's fine. Don't be silent. Don't take it. I don't care if it's your spoiled brat kid that you paid for to go to college. Yank their butts out of college. Have that talk with them. No, this is stupid. This is, I don't care. Mock them. Do whatever you got to do. But it's time to stand up. All right. Unless you guys got some closing comments. Any comments online there?
Yeah. Actually, the chat's been pretty active this morning. Craig had a few good ones. One that I really liked. He said, migration only works if you have infrastructure and the abilities of a planned system. Otherwise, it creates division and problems for our communities.
And that's exactly what the left wants. The left wants chaos.
And
it's
then
as simple as that. They thrive in chaos.
And he also says they should empty Congress building and turn it into flats for rentals.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Honestly, I do believe one of the biggest problems, one of the ways that we could really turn this country around is just like we do in Florida. The legislature meets for a couple of months or so in the year, and they hash out ideas, and then they figure it out, and then they're done for the rest of the year. That's exactly what needs to happen in Washington, D.C. Our congressmen should not be allowed to live there. Our senators should not be allowed to live there. I think we should have the White House there, and I think the Supreme Court should be moved. These people shouldn't be influenced. They live in a bubble, and they don't need to be chatting back and forth all the time. They need to know what's going on in their own state, their own communities, and vote accordingly. Anything else?
There's another one. John had an interesting take on it. He says, Central America is more safer than Cali or New York. I have traveled it. What are they running from? It is a scam. They do work very cheap there, but the cost of living is as well. And yes, they are impoverished, but I met the nicest people I have ever met. And I have to agree. I've been to some of those countries too, and it is just beautiful there. The people are incredible. But I see what he's saying, where they're taught, that you come here for a better life. Where
yeah, I can't speak intelligently on that, except to say, even if their lives are pretty decent there, obviously America. They've heard stories, just like Tony was saying, of America and the greatness and the exceptionalism of America, and they want to come here. So what that says about their country, I'm not sure. But what it says about America is a whole heck of a lot. Any more? Let me say this. A couple of sponsors here. Thank you for the people that make this possible. Firm Foundation Home Inspections, especially if you live in, this is specifically for people that live in Central Florida area. But if you're moving to Central Florida area and you need a great home inspector, Aubrey Kahn of Firm Foundation Home Inspections, go to Orlando's with an S, homeinspector.com. Likewise, if you need a real estate agent to accompany that great home inspector, check out Elisa Edwards of Watson Realty. You can go to eedwards.watsonrealtycorp.com. So eedwards.watsonrealtycorp.com. And I say thank you to them because they help with my terrestrial show on Salem. But honestly, none of this would be possible without their help. Anything else before we close up?
Maybe you could speak to this, because I don't really know what happened. But Cindy says, can you let everyone know that ACB let us down again? She's such a disappointment for the Supreme Court. Yeah,
I will say this. I don't know if you guys know this guy, Charles Hurd. He appears on Fox News, Tucker Carlson, all of them all the time. He is a staunch conservative. He was a staunch Trump supporter. He cautioned me because I was starting to call her Amy Coward Barrett, and I was actually going to write a column calling her Amy Coward Barrett. But he said, I'll give her some grace for the first year or two. And he said, this actually tends to be the trend when you look over history with a lot of Supreme Court justices. Now, people like John Roberts have done some hellifying decisions where they kind of bucked the trends. But typically it takes them a year or two to kind of get into their own. So he said, just give her a little bit of grace. But he was like, in a year or two, you're still seeing this, then yeah, whatever. But this is a guy that, I mean, he was an adamant, staunch Trump supporter. So when he said that, and just knowing the inner workings of Washington, because he lives in the area, he was like, that's just kind of the history of it. And he's like, I'm just hoping that doesn't, tend to be a trend. So he was like, just give her a little more time. After, X amount of time has passed, then we can start bashing her. But we're not there yet. Let's pray that Charles Hurt is right. That's what I'm doing. All right. Until next time, guys, don't grow weary doing good. I'll catch you later. If anybody is at Supercross tonight in Orlando, Florida, I'll see you there. But if you're across the nation, God bless you. Thank you for tuning in, and check us out next week. Same time, same channel.